Okay, so now that we've got some of the basics down regarding creating blueprints and adding components to them, now we're going to get into some more interesting aspects of blueprints. And this is one of the main reasons why blueprints are much more functional than simply dragging in static meshes. Now, I'm going to, again, delete a couple of these and going to basically leave one of them in the world. And since we scaled and translated this one a little bit and rotated it, I'm going to delete that and just drag in a new one. And in the My Actor, I'm going to go ahead and just delete the cube. We can leave the cone, that's fine. I'm going to start to show you around a little bit more in the blueprint. So we know about components. We know that we can add meshes, and we can even make one of them the root component, which we've done here with our cone. And now I'm going to introduce you to a few more things in the blueprint. So you'll notice at the left, under the Components tab, we have the My Blueprint tab, and this shows you a bunch of different things that the blueprint has that you may not have seen before. Again, you see under Components, you've got the cone here, and so that shows you the one and only component that we now have since we deleted the cube. Above that, we have functions and graphs, and now this is something that is new to you. You haven't seen it. And I'm going to go ahead and take you into what we call the event graph. So you'll see here we have event graph. We can select it, and up here in the viewport, which is basically how you look around and see the objects and the components in your blueprint, you have two other tabs here, the construction script and the event graph. Now the event graph is where blueprint logic is created. Now this is the whole reason why we can create games and not have to know how to program. You don't have to know a programming language to make games now because of blueprints. Blueprints is how we create the functionality that our game will have. And so an actor has its own event graph, and this is where you can create things that can cause stuff to happen in the world. And by default, you've got three different events. These events are little nodes. You'll see that these nodes can be dragged around, and they're color-coded. You'll see that they're red, and that's because events are red. And there's a little triangle here hovering over it. It says exec, and that means that this is an execution pin. Specifically, is an output execution pin because you can drag out of it and you'll see a wire, and this wire is something that you can use to connect these nodes together. So just to dig right in to show you just how these nodes work, we're going to drag off of the output execution pin, and you'll get, as soon as you release with the mouse, you'll get this menu, and we can type. And if I type print, you'll see that it pulls up things that have print in their name, and under this string category we see print string, and the F here stands for function. And if we click on this function node, you'll see that it's blue, and functions are blue whereas events are red. And we're going to get a very intimate understanding of events and functions throughout this course. Now, an event is something that gets fired off in a particular event in the game. And event begin play is something that gets fired off when the game starts. So this particular blueprint, My Actor, has a begin play node that gets fired off when the game starts, and anything connected to this execution wire, such as our print string function, it's going to be called when a function happens, when its logic happens, whatever is programming inside of the node. Whenever it gets called, we say that function gets called, and that's kind of programmer terminology. So when the game starts, we say that the flow of control, or the logic flow, is going to come out of begin play and into the print string node. And that's simply all that means, is that when the game starts, this print string node is going to happen. And what does the print string node do? It prints a string of characters to the screen. A string is a series of characters. And you'll see this in string little parameter here, and it's got hello in it, and this hello is the message that gets printed to the screen. So print string is sort of a debug function that you can use to verify that certain things are going correctly. And in this case, all we're going to do when the game starts is basically print hello to the screen. And if we go back to the screen here, it's going to show up at the top left. Now if we click play, you'll see right off the bat that this click for mouse control is kind of covering it, and it's hard to see. But if we hit stop and hit play again, you'll see hello just below it, and it'll be there for a couple seconds and then it'll disappear. And that hello is the string that we printed to the screen here with our print string. And that's the node that allows us to print things to the screen. And we can click on hello and we can change that. If we add a world here, we'll see it says hello world, and we'll go back and hit play, and hello world gets printed to the screen. And in general, when you're learning to program, hello world is something that you learn how to print to the screen as a tradition. And so typically when someone writes their first program and they learn how to print to the screen, they print hello world, and that's kind of like you know, a testament to their learning and their hard work, and you know, they feel really good because they first learned how to print something to the screen, and hello world is traditionally that thing. And so now you can say that you've experienced programming something that prints text to the screen, and you'll see that in Blueprints it's as easy as creating this little node and connecting the wires together. So it's actually really exciting how easy it is to program games now, and you don't even need to know how to program. You just need to know what nodes to use, and print string is one of those very valuable things that you have at your disposal. Now nodes, just like things in like a word processor, can be copied. So if you have this node highlighted, notice just like in the world, it's outlined in yellow when it's highlighted. And in this node, print string can be highlighted, which means it's selected, and you can copy and paste it. So hit Control C to copy it, and then Control V to paste it, and you'll see that we've got a new print string node. And these can be connected just like this. So the output execution pin from print string can be dragged into the input execution pin for another print string. And now we have two print string nodes that are going to be called. And these happen one after the other. These are like lines of code. Basically, when the game starts, begin play gets fired, and this execution pin determines that next after the event begin play gets fired, we call the first print string. We print hello world to the screen, and then after that happens, then the next thing gets called, and that's another print string node. So if we go back and we hit play, now we see two hello worlds printed to the screen. And of course you can basically click into the second one and change it. And if we want to say something else, we can say maybe hello universe. And now we can come back and hit play, and you'll see hello universe is printed in addition to hello world. And notice something important: hello universe is on top. And that's because the way this happens is first hello world gets printed, and then hello universe is put on top, and it kind of shoves the hello world down by one line. And so that's how these print strings work, is the latest message gets printed up at the top, and then the next message gets shoved down. Now, you may have noticed that the messages only last for a couple seconds, and that's because that the amount of time that these nodes program the print string to print to the screen is something you can specify. And you'll notice that we have drop downs on these little nodes, and that's allows you to have extra parameters, extra information that you can use to change the way print string works. And one of them is duration. You'll see that the duration is 2. We can change this to something like 10, and that changes it from 2 seconds to 10 seconds. And now with 10 for the duration, we can go back and hit play, and you'll see that hello world and hello universe stay on the screen for 10 seconds instead of 2. So after 10 seconds is done, then they will disappear and you'll no longer have them on the screen. So print string is something that only happens for a certain duration, and that duration is specified when you click the drop down menu. You'll also see the text color is another one that we can change. If you click on the little square, you have a color picker, and you can move this around in this little circle, and you'll see that we've got different colors that we can choose from. You can move it over to a red, and you'll change it to sort of a reddish orange. And then these two little ribbons here allow you to move the color down more towards a white color. If you want it to be blended in that color that you selected, if you want it to be blended with white, and the right one allows you to blend it with black, so you can make it a darker color. So if I wanted to make sort of a brown, then I can give it, between a red and yellow color, and then drag this right ribbon down to make it darker, and the left ribbon to make it brighter, and so on. And so if you click OK, then now the text color changes. And if we click play, you'll see that now Hello World is a brown, and as opposed to the Hello Universe, which I left at its default blue. So there's other options too, but the most important ones for now that I want you to know about are text color and duration, and that allows you to change those properties. And begin play is the reason why these get called at the beginning of the game. So that is the event begin play and the print string node. These are very important debugging tools that we're going to use throughout the course, because they allow us to just print something to the screen, and that shows us that things are working properly. For example, if event begin play was not being called, then we wouldn't see these printed to the screen, and then we would know something is wrong. Now, very important, these must be connected by wires, and if they're not connected, then the function will never be called. And you can disconnect wires by holding Alt and clicking on the execution pin, and you can reconnect them by dragging. And when one node is connected to another, you can disconnect them either by clicking at the end of the wire or at the beginning of the wire. It doesn't matter. Either one will break that connection. Also, you can click from left to right and drag, or I'm going to break this. You can click from right to left and drag. Either way, the connection will still be made. And also, if you click and hold it and hover over the execution pin, you'll see a little checkbox that shows that this is valid. This connection can be made. Whereas if you drag it into some other type of execution input, and it says and it has a little red circle with a line through it, that shows you that this connection is not valid. So execution pins must be valid with each other, and in general the little input and output execution pins for logic control like this are compatible with one another, but then other inputs for functions take different types of wires, and we're going to get into those very shortly. So that's begin play. And just to prove to you that they need to be connected in order to work, I'm going to break the connection here. So event begin play will no longer be connected to these two nodes. And because that's not connected, if I go back and hit play, you'll see that we don't get any message printed to the screen, because even though event begin play is being fired, it's not connected to anything, and so there is no logic here to perform. So once I connect it back and go back and hit play, then we have our nice little messages printed to the screen. So that's begin play, and that's print string, and that is how easy it is to program logic in your game without needing to use programming language, because Blueprints is our programming language, and it is much easier to use.